ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, March 24th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We'll get into your text throughout the day. We've got a busy show today. Looking forward to it. Tyler Kennett's going to join us from HD Media about 5:15 p.m. We're going to talk about Marshall Pro Day. He was there. He'll give us all the highlights, what we can expect come draft day. Did anyone improve their stock in his eyes? We'll talk to Tyler in just a few minutes. And also, we're going to hear from Randy Payton. Randy was a longtime sports editor of the Wayne County News. And, of course, Randy moved on. He's now the sports information director at Rio Grande. And Randy has, of course, been in the area for a long time. He has a lot of ties to the area still, Wayne County, and he's going to come on in a few minutes as well. We're going to talk about Larry McCloud. Larry McCloud passed away. Got the news yesterday. And for those of you that are Marshall fans from, say, 20, 30 years ago, you know Larry McCloud. He was part of that Marshall team in the 90s, 1994 to 1997. Buffalo High School product. He was a state player of the year. Also on that 1996 1AA championship team. And Larry passed away yesterday. At least we got the news that he passed away. He had been sick for a time. And it's a huge loss, obviously. He was a well-known member of the Marshall athletic team, football team. And so I thought Randy would be good to talk to because Randy can tell us a little bit more about Larry, not necessarily just what he did on the football field, and that's important. Larry was a heck of a player. I mean, he's gonna have legendary status for the rest of for all time probably. You know, Larry McCloud's name will come up often when you talk about Marshall sports and talk about all-time greats. But what about Larry the person? And I thought it would be more fitting to talk about Larry and more than just here's what he did at Marshall, here's what he did statistically. But he did have a lot of moments on the football field, and he made a lot of memories for Herd fans. So we'll open up the text line this hour. And again, let me give that number one more time. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Do you have a favorite Larry McCloud moment? Were there something he did on the football field that still sticks with you to this very day? There's something that he did maybe off the field that sticks with you. So if you've got something to share, we'd love to have those and hear those. So our text line, and I'll give it to you one more time. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So that's our text line to be a part of today's show. We'll get your text in throughout the show. But I'm looking forward to catching up with Tyler in a few minutes, and then we'll hear from Randy. We've got a busy day tomorrow as well. Marshall taking on West Virginia, going to be in Morgantown. The Thundering Herd sitting at 12-12. 2-game losing streak. The Mountaineers are 19-3. 7-3 at home, coming off a loss. And so the Mountaineers are really good. Marshall's got its hands full, and so that game will be in Morgantown. And then softball is going to be at the Dot tomorrow. Thundering Herd on a 6-game winning streak, 19-13 now, taking on Pitt. That's coming up tomorrow. And Pitt 11-18 on a 2-game losing streak. Marshall's 9-2 at home this season. Very good at home. So the Thundering Herd in action at the Dot tomorrow. For those of you not making the trip to Morgantown to see the Herd take on the Mountaineers, you've got softball action against Pitt. So I know a lot of people have choices. Tomorrow you'll be following baseball. You'll probably be following softball as well. Let's see if the Herd can get a win on the softball field. And, of course, we'll be hoping the Mountaineers fall to Marshall at home. It's a competitive series. I don't think the records really matter. It's been a competitive series. The two programs actually will play each other. So there's not much fuss there. It's like soccer. Soccer, you have to conference play, but it's one of those series where I think the two programs like playing each other, going back and forth, appreciate the rivalry, if you can call it that. Some fans will, some fans won't. I think you know where you are on the fence if you are a Marshall or WVU fan. So I won't presume to tell you it's a rivalry if you don't think it is. I think it is, however. So we'll get all of that coming up, but we're going to hear from Tyler Kennett in just a few minutes. We'll talk about Pro Day with him, so we'll get right into it. Later on, we'll hear from Randy Payton. Randy's going to tell us more about the life of Larry McCloud, passing away tragically too soon. Always too soon for guys like Larry who meant a lot to a lot of people. It's always too soon. When we continue, Tyler Kennett joins us on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40%. Help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, Ray Crabtree, 304-736-8181. In Milton, Russ McRae, 304-743-9318. And in Lavalette, Jason Elkins, 304-529-7555.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the Tri-State. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of the show. We're going to hear from Randy Payton in a little bit. Unfortunately, sad news, Larry McCloud, Marshall great, passing away. We've asked you if you have any memories of Larry on our text line, and that's open now, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter wrote in and said, "Hey, Paul, his hit at the Motor City Bowl sticks with me. I was there, and yes, he was a Wayne County gentleman." I agree with every bit of that sentiment. What a gentleman he was. Passing away so soon, you hate it when great guys like that pass away. We'll hear from Randy in just a few minutes. But I want to welcome to the program now. It's been a few weeks since I've actually had a chance to catch up with him. Tyler Kennett joins us from HD Media. He's been all over the scene at Marshall University today. It was Pro Day. I think everybody was there. At least every team was well represented. Of course, a lot of future hopeful Marshall NFL prospects. Tyler, you tell me, what was the scene like today at Pro Day?
Oh, it was awesome. From what I understand, there were 29 was the number that I got out of the 32 NFL teams were there. Coach Gibson was walking around a little bit, him and his staff and his players. A good showing from pretty much everybody you could think of. Stuck out the most, probably the Atlanta Falcons head coach, GM, both were in attendance. So, anytime that you get that, especially at a mid-major program, right? That's a group of 5. They're obviously very locked in, presumably on Mike Green, as they showed up pretty heavily. But yeah, pretty much every team, like you said. I don't ask me to name which 3 weren't there, but I could probably flip a coin and say that just about all of them were.
Were the Bengals there? That's all I want to know.
I think so. I was kind of asking around. Someone asked me on Twitter if they were there, and someone was like, "Yeah, they were." So I think so. Yes.
Tyler Kennett's with us from HD Media. He's been at Pro Day all day. And so what stood out from you performance-wise overall? Did anyone have an extremely productive day, maybe rise in their standings, or did their stock rise is what I'm trying to say?
Sure. I think J.J. Roberts really became a guy on somebody's radar today. He had to. I mean, everybody's there to see him. And we're still waiting on some of the official numbers. I didn't hand time anything, so I don't have anything on me. But I know that his vertical has already been put out by the primary social medias for Marshall. I'd say follow those guys if you want to kind of see them as they come through. But he had a 40.5 vertical, which would put him in the top 4 if he was at the combine. 41.5 and 42 are the only 3 above him. 2 guys had 41.5. So you talk about, getting up there. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally a top level talent. And then his 40 was also, I think Keith Morehouse asked him what it was, and he said he didn't know exactly, but he would say that they were eyeing him around like a low 4.4, a high 4.3 for that as well. So in those 2 drills, that's what we kind of have a baseline of. He did extremely well. And yeah, Mike Green speaks really highly of him. He said as well that anytime that someone's asking him the question of, who is a player that you would want to bring with you if you could do so, and he's always pointing to JJ. So, I mean, obviously those guys are going to bounce back and forth on each other when it comes to that question. They seem really close as they were talking about it today. He really impressed. I feel like he had a really, really good showing.
Tyler Kennett's with us, HD Media. He was at Pro Day earlier today. So you mentioned Mike Green. How'd the big man do?
Mm-hmm. He did good. He looked great. He talked a little bit. Forget who asked him. I try to give credit to these things, but someone asked him, in terms of choosing to opt out for the Senior Bowl and the combine, like what went into that. And he mentioned that there was maybe a little bit of tightness with a hamstring, nothing that's going to impede him down the line or anything like that. So he was very selective in what he chose to participate in today. Now, for our sake, media was not able to go in for like the indoor strength portion with bench reps and all of that stuff, even the vertical that we're talking about. So we're still waiting on those numbers from the inside stuff to say what exactly that he participated in there. But in terms of the indoor drills, I guess you could say that would be outside. He did the shuttle and looked extremely explosive, did really well. He did the L drill as well and looked explosive. He ran that one and did a lot of the D-line and line position drills. And, I mean, you just talk about a guy that any time that someone said his name as he was getting ready to line up, or if he just walked up, everybody's got the stopwatch in hand. They've got a clipboard raised. Phones are up. Everybody's recording him. I mean, he looked as advertised, definitely. He didn't do the 40, as he kind of mentioned, doing the full movements kind of caused a little bit of pain, mostly because of the amount of work that he's been putting in. I mean, he looks bigger in terms of, muscle and weight. He showed off, said he got a tattoo recently of Marshall. He's got Marshall's logo on his arm now. And as I was filming the video for the interview, I took a picture of it, and his arm takes up almost all of the screen, Paul. So it's obviously the dude's getting big. He's tough. He's explosive. I'm not a scout, so I can't really say exactly what maybe they saw out of it. But I mean, for me, I definitely passed the eye test and then some. Did everything he needed to do today, I would say.
So Mike Green's gotten bigger. That's just hard to imagine, and here he is.
Yeah.
He's getting NFL ready. Yeah, you said J.J. Roberts had a good showing. Was there anyone that stood out to you that maybe caught your attention that you normally, maybe, I don't want to say you overlooked anyone, but is there anyone that you're a little surprised about how well they performed or how well they stood out?
I thought Ethan Payne was pretty cool as a local guy from Poca. Seeing him do the 40 and everything, he looked pretty good and everything I got to see him do. I just really all the guys that came out. I mean, you're talking about all of them were talking a little bit about the concept of, so many teams are there to see Mike, and they kind of benefited from that, so everyone got a good look in terms of what they were able to do. I think that just about anybody that you put on the table today did well. Obviously, it'd be a little bit easier for me to tell you once I have like times in my hand and whatnot, but I know that Ethan was very talked highly about the experience and the work that he's put in with Coach Street and some other guys that have been doing the same thing. All of them have been kind of working and building up for this moment, and I think that some of them definitely capitalized on it.
Our guest is Tyler Kennett from HD Media. He was in attendance today at Pro Day. Now, I know this was an event for a lot of Marshall guys. Did we see anyone else maybe piggybacking onto this event? Anybody else there maybe you can talk about or speak to?
Not that I can think of. Obviously, I'm still getting used to knowing some of the faces, so nobody sticks out at the top of my head for that part of it. But no, I'm not sure.
This is always a fun event. When you get a chance to watch the scouts, watch the herd players.
Yeah.
And I know that the benefits are not just for Marshall players getting a little extra look because of Mike Green, but if you're Coach Gibson, you're sitting here smiling right now, knowing that
Sure.
This is getting a lot of attention. I mean, he hasn't even played. He hasn't seen his team play a down yet, and already it's like he's winning. He's winning the spring so far.
Yeah, I would say so. He talked to us for a few minutes as well, and we kind of emphasized with him the importance of, in a way, knowing that if you're a player at a Group of 5 program, that it's possible, to make that jump and still be able to get looks. Talent is above everything else. There's a reason that people were there today, and I'm sure that he was very happy to see that. I saw Michael Allen and Jalen Slappy. Some of those guys were walking around, guys I recognized from spring practices and everything. But yeah, I mean, they're looking good, and I think that it's really good for him too to kind of develop those connections with those guys. I know he talked a little bit about how he thanked them for coming back and doing those things, and all of the guys that we talked to today that participated. Every single one of them had something awesome to say about Marshall and how much it means to him to be able to compete and do those things today as well, right?
And I'm sure it was also, I'm not sure how many maybe the newer guys that were there, on the team coming up, got a chance to maybe keep an eye on this. But was there anybody there that you recognize, like, okay, here's some new guys, and I'm sure their eyes got just full of seeing all of this today?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of put us up on the top part, so I was kind of, the crowd was pretty big. I would say that there was probably, a good handful at the very least. I don't know everybody's names just yet. I'm still kind of learning around, but I know that, Michael Allen for sure was there. He's a new guy running back from UNLV. He was kind of seeing the 40s, and, I saw him on the sideline watching those and everything. Just a guy that I recognized immediately there. But, it's one of those things where as everyone kind of filled into the indoor facility while we were, waiting for everyone to pile in, there was a pretty big crowd. I mean, it was enough to where, us up at the top, we were all recording up there, and you could look down, and I mean, it was pretty much a good little round of the track on the half side that they were on, like people watching all the way through. So yeah, it was a pretty nice crowd.
Tyler Kennett's with us, Marshall Pro Day, and we're looking hopefully for a first-round draft pick for Mike Green coming up, and maybe J.J. Roberts' stock has improved. Any other takeaways, just from the day itself, or anything that maybe a coach mentioned or talked about that you're going to expand on this week in HD Media publications?
I talked to Mike a lot. I wrote something already for today, just kind of talking about, what the experience has been like for him. But I think that he really hits the nail on the head in that he talked a little bit about the big play that he made at the Senior Bowl. And I think I've already posted it online, but he essentially was like, the question that people had about me was if I could compete against, the Power 5, Power 4 guys up top, and he's shown that, right? And he says in his words that, the measurables and things are maybe, some of the only questions you have about him and his game. And I mean, he keeps improving. He keeps rising and rising. And I probably won't touch on it as much as I really did today, but the Falcons really had a lot of people there at 15. That could be, obviously I don't do mock drafts and I don't do any of that stuff. And there's trades and there's everything else. It's kind of hard to predict those sorts of things. But, if everything went chalk and everyone had their way, I think that's who they may be keyed in on at the very least,
I'm hoping he drops to the Bengals. I know that's selfish of me, but I'm hoping he drops to the Bengals. Just go ahead and take it.
I'm a Lions fan. He's too good.
Yeah, Bengals are sitting there at 17. I mean, the Falcons, if they get him at 15, so be it. But if he drops to 17, I hope the Bengals take him.
Yeah, that'd be good for you. I was joking about it, though. I've always been a Lions fan, and I don't think he's getting there. I just don't think he is. I think he's the top half of the first round type of guy, for sure.
Let's just hope he doesn't go second to the Cleveland Browns.
Right, yeah.
Or seventh to the Jets. No there.
Yeah.
Or 12th to the Cowboys. No there. I think that's it.
I think oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think that's it. I think those are the teams that I don't want him on.
Right. I think that it's, I don't know. I will follow him as a fan for sure, wherever he is. Today, obviously, I just started this job in January, right? So I had never had a chance to kind of talk to him in person. He seems like a great dude. So that was just the general takeaway for me as well. I mean, I've watched him play. I know he's really good. And I think that everyone, and it's probably the case with JJ as well, like everyone in Huntington is learning, or has known these things. And now everyone else is learning. You know what I mean?
Makes perfect sense. And, of course, you know how Marshall fans are. If you go to a team, you will be supported. Of course, yes. I will support the player, not the team. Absolutely. Not doing it. I mean, if he's a Pittsburgh Steeler, great for him. He's going to have a great career. I'm just not going to be rooting for him on game day. I'll root for him to have individual success. I think that's a fair compromise.
Yeah, I've always been more of a player guy, especially in basketball, for sure. I just follow the players.
I did that in hockey, and I was all over the National Hockey League with Wayne Gretzky. I learned my lesson.
Right.
I learned my lesson, but at the time, I was just okay, hey, look, we got to get new gear now. We're LA Kings fans now. Hey, look, we're St. Louis Blues fans now. Yeah, that if you're a LeBron fan, I'm sure that was maddening for a while.
Oh, I'm sure.
Tyler Kennett's with us. What do you got coming up outside of football? You going to be in Morgantown for Marshall WVU? Are you going to be close by?
Yes, I will be. Yeah, I live right down the road, so I will be there tomorrow.
I thought so, yeah.
Yeah, I live in Morgantown. I'm actually riding on the way back up now. So one of a couple trips I'll make today to Huntington. We're getting close. I might be moving like first week of May, so we're getting there, Paul. But I'll be there Tuesday. Wednesday, I think I'm off. Probably do some riding anyway. Thursday, be back down in Huntington for spring practice, get some more football in. And then Friday, I talked to Griffin Miller from baseball over the weekend. Probably write some stuff about him as we go along, little stuff like that. I'm trying to get into the swing of spring. You know what I mean? That was pretty good, huh? But high school basketball is finally over. I just did a couple of games there the last couple of weeks, and basketball is behind us. So I think it's time to get into spring and do all of those good things. Really fun. I got to watch my high school Montcalm play in a state tournament game, first time in 47 years. That was really awesome. Got to write about that. So that was a lot of fun.
Tyler Kennett's with us. You said basketball was over. You forgot one thing, Tyler.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I've already forgotten about March Madness because I lost a Final Four team.
No, not that. No, TBT.
Hmm? Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, they're coming back to Charleston. That's exciting.
Yeah, TBT
I covered
time.
It. Last time I got to cover it was when it was in Wheeling, and the Herd team went on that little bit of a run. So that was really fun. Those guys are great. Jared West. Those are really, I graduated in 22. Those were all of the guys that were really like my era, if you will, of basketball. So I always love watching that. So that's very exciting. Yeah, you reminded me. That's something to look forward to for sure. And the Colecast too, but not basketball, but very exciting. I'm getting the chance to cover that as well, I'm sure.
That's what I'm here for, Tyler. I'm here to help you and make your life
absolutely.
better.
Yeah.
Have fun. Be safe heading up home, or temporary home now as you continue.
Sure.
I mean, look, Luke Creasy never drove from Morgantown to Huntington and vice. I mean, I love that guy, but he never did that. I mean,
It's there's a method to the madness, I guess. This I wouldn't do it for anything else, I think, But it's not too bad. I mean, if you've ever done it, it's just straight shot 79. It's just Charleston to Huntington. That last 30 to 40 minutes is really tough. But everything else is not too bad, straight shot.
be safe on your way. We'll look forward to catching up with you here real soon. Of course, you've got Marshall WVU tomorrow, and we'll be following along, and multiple HD media properties, including the Herald Dispatch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Good talking to you, Tyler. We'll do it again soon. That's Tyler Kennett, HD Media. When we come back, Randy Payton joins us. We're going to talk about the life of Larry McCloud, who unfortunately has passed away. More coming up on this edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
It's madness at the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe. Pizza madness. During NCAA tournament games, buy any regular pizza and get a free side of boneless wings. And wash it down with $2 tall domestics. Catch all the action, all the upsets, all the buzzer beaters, and all the pizza and boneless wings at the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe. Pizza, boneless wings, hoops, and ice-cold beer. Now that's a championship combo. Pizza madness at the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe on the corner of Fun and 3rd Avenue, Huntington.
Stalwart Insurance is the name for insurance in the tri-state. They are committed to delivering tailored benefit solutions with thoughtful, strategic planning with valuable professional services. Stop by or call Stalwart Insurance for your homeowner's insurance needs. Stalwart Insurance is located right beside Kenny Queen Hardware on Route 10 in Barbersville. Call Stalwart Insurance anytime at 304-552-3883. That's 304-552-3883. Or visit them online at stalwartinsurance.com.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. It's the perfect time to start planning for outdoor projects. Loctite Landscape Construction Adhesive works great for securing blocks, bricks, and stone. It's a true all-weather application that's water resistant. Save big on Loctite adhesives when you shop at Menards. Plus, check out the weekly flyer on menards.com for plenty more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
I'm Nori, and when I was young, my mom opened our home to someone who needed a secure and safe place. She taught him what it was like to have someone care about you, having dinner at home or going out to eat together.
In West Virginia, families open their homes every year to adult family care.
Some folks need a little extra help, but everybody deserves a family.
Call the Department of Human Services and ask to speak to an adult family care home finder at 304-269-6820. Sponsored by the West Virginia Department of Human Services, the West Virginia Broadcasters Association, and this station. This project is supported by the Administration for Community Living, ACL, of the United States, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, as part of a financial assistance award totaling $1,227,345, with 100% funded by ACL HHS. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor an endorsement by ACL HHS or the U.S. government.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We found out yesterday some very sad news that one of the all-time greats at Marshall University, and I know we use that word a lot, one of the all-time greats, but I think it does apply to Larry McCloud. He passed away, and for a lot of Herd fans, older Herd fans, Larry is the epitome of Marshall football, and he's a local product. He's someone that we followed for a long time, and the best person I could think of to talk about him, he might disagree with me, had really a front row seat to a lot of Larry McCloud's life and career, and he's the former sports editor of the Wayne County News. He now handles the sports information duties at Rio Grande. So long time Wayne County writer Randy Payton joins us on the program. I wish we could get together under happier times, but it's a sad day to talk about Larry McCloud. But I really don't want to be sad about him because he meant so much to a lot of people, and we could talk about his stats all day long. But I don't think that does a service to really talk about Larry. He's more than just his football accomplishments.
Absolutely. And, Paul, thanks for having me on. I know it's been a while, and I wish the circumstances were different. But, Larry, you mentioned a lot of people know him as a Marshall great, and obviously he was. The fact that he was a local product, I think, at least in the tri-state area, makes his celebrity, I guess if you want to use that word, a little larger than maybe some of the other Marshall greats that have come along down through the years, simply because, as you said, people could follow what he did through his time out at Buffalo. He was 5 years behind me. I was an 87 graduate. He was a 92 graduate. I've known him for a long time, and then, of course, in my former position, had a chance to follow him once he came to Marshall. I made a Facebook post yesterday. It was kind of funny that, the way his career ended up and the media attraction that he was by the end of his career. I remember that first media day. He was getting redshirted as a freshman, and there weren't that many people around. Maybe the guys from local TV and the HD and myself, but there wasn't a big draw to talk to him, and he was perfectly content with that. But he's a very humble person. He kind of let his exploits on the field do the talking. He was not a fan of doing the media type stuff, but I guess he grew into that role as his stardom at Marshall continued to blossom over those years. But tremendous football player, a guy, though, that off the field was very timid. I use the phrase almost shy, not one to pat himself on the back. And certainly he had the opportunity as a local celebrity, if you will, to really exploit that, but chose not to. He was, even after his Marshall days, a very private person, and he kept his illness private until I don't know, probably the last 4 or 5 weeks is when word began to leak out that he was in pretty bad shape and was going to have a hard time making it. And of course we lost him yesterday, and it's kind of hard for me to believe that the kid that I watched grow up and become a hulk of a man and a football idol, and God knows how many kids across the tri-state wanted to wear the number 28 after his career at Marshall. It's hard for me to believe he's gone.
Randy Payton is with us. He was the sports editor at the Wayne County News when Larry was on the football field. And as we highlighted, he was a Buffalo High School product, state player of the year. Of course, he was a terror on the defensive side. We had a texter write in earlier and say that their memory of Larry was at the Motor City Bowl, where he basically crushed the guy.
Rufus French.
Oh, you remember vividly. You were there, weren't you? I remember that.
I was there, and at the time, the Wayne County News was a weekly paper, so our photographer, the late Chris Spencer, was on the field. By that time, most of the photographers had left. They were trying to get pictures out so they could get them in the papers the next day. But Chris was on the field, and as far as I know, he was the only one who had a still photo of that hit that Larry put on Rufus French. And for people that don't know what we're talking about, you go to Google or go to YouTube rather and search Larry McCloud Marshall, and that hit will come up that he that he put on Rufus in the fourth quarter. But Chris was the only photographer that I know that actually got the shot. I had a black and white print of it for years in my office at the Wayne County News, and unfortunately in the move from the Wayne County News to Rio Grande, I lost that picture, and of course since then the office has burned up, so I guess that picture's gone for good. But what a play that kind of epitomized, if there was ever a picture or a video of what coaches call a textbook tackle, look up Larry McCloud tackling Rufus French. It was pretty memorable play for a game that unfortunately in the final seconds that the Herd got beat.
Randy Payton is joining us. He is now the SID at Rio Grande. Before that, he was the sports editor of the Wayne County News. Have just joined us. We're remembering Larry McCloud, who passed away yesterday. Larry, one of the all-time greats at Marshall University. Again, you say that a lot of people can be one of the all-time greats. For a lot of people, Larry is the all-time great. It's not just what he meant to Marshall fans on the football field, off the field. How do you think he overcame that timidness? On the football field, he was business. He took care of business. But off the field, he was like a gentle giant. He was a kind soul. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that maybe have stories of what he was like away from the football field. Do you have anything that maybe stands out to kind of highlight the difference between the fierce competitor and just the timid, gentle soul that he was?
I think that was a role, talking about being timid, that was him from day one. He was never one to pat himself on the back. And like I said, even after his career at Marshall, he wasn't that way. He was, there to root on his kids. He's got a son right now who's part of the baseball program at Marshall. But I think being the center of attention to some degree, he kind of grew into that role because he knew that was part of it. But again, he was somebody who was more to talk about his teammates and not his own exploits. And I told some members of my family over the weekend after we found out that he had gone yesterday, the one thing that I remember about him was the handshake. And he had such massive hands that, I've got pretty big hands myself, but he could just completely engulf me in a handshake. And to see some of the video and obviously I watched him play at Buffalo and at Marshall. And, for a while he had a hit that he put on a kid from University High School. That video was how the point after on WOWK. It's how it came on, was that video. And I remember him almost getting his pants pulled down while he was dragging two Wheeling Central tacklers during a playoff game out at Bison Stadium. Then, of course, the year that Buffalo won the state championship in '92. He scored the lone touchdown on that nasty, rainy, sleety night up in Charleston. And you mentioned that he was a player of the year. He was a Gatorade player of the year, as I recall, but amazingly never won the Kennedy Award. That year, I believe the Kennedy Award went to Mark Caesar, the quarterback at Magnolia. And in a head-to-head showdown, Larry scored the game's only touchdown. Buffalo won the championship. And, I may be a little biased, but as far as I'm concerned, he got done dirty by not winning the Kennedy Award, and he probably was the best player in the state that year, but unfortunately didn't get recognized for it.
You know how the bias is. I think we could talk about that for another 30 minutes. You know how the bias is around here.
Well, I will say this. He was the player of the year by the Morgantown Touchdown Club, and I think he did get an offer from West Virginia, but he turned it down. And amazingly, after he turned down a chance to play up north, he didn't get enough votes to win the Kennedy Award. Now, maybe that was just coincidence. Maybe it wasn't. But I think if he had it to do all over again, he would play it out exactly the same way that he did, because he sure had a heck of a career at Marshall. He played during a great time for a great head coach in Bobby Pruitt, who I understand he was very close to, well beyond his playing years and Coach Pruitt's coaching years at Marshall. They were good friends up to the end. And I think if he had it to do all over again, he'd play it out exactly the same way that he did.
Randy Payton is with us. We are remembering Larry McCloud, who unfortunately passed away yesterday. I don't know how much is out there yet as far as anything that is planned for possible. Do you have any details? I mean, will there be a memorial? Will there be anything like that?
I think I did see just a little bit ago that there will be a viewing tomorrow night at Rieger Funeral Home there in the west end of Huntington. And then I can't remember which church. It was the church that he was a member of. I want to say the 26th Street Church of Christ. His service will be there on Wednesday morning, I believe, at 11 o'clock. And I'm sure that, between the following that he had during his days in the Buffalo community and in Wayne County, and then, of course, his extended family through his career at Marshall, I would imagine that there are a lot of folks that will come by and pay their respects to him and kind of keep his wife and kids standing up in what obviously is a very tough situation for him.
Randy Payton is with us, and you said Rieger, so thankfully they've got the information posted now on their website for people who want all the details there. The visitation will take place 5 to 7 p.m. There'll be a private visitation for family from 4 to 5, and the funeral services 11 a.m. again Wednesday. The 26th Street Church of Christ, that is 101 26th Street in Huntington, and he's going to be buried at Hillcrest Cemetery in Canova. So the family and friends are asking, in lieu of flowers, contributions may be made to the Wounded Warrior Project or St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Two projects that sound like those are really near and dear to his heart.
I'm going to assume that they were. I did see that at the end of the obituary there, and if you were a fan of Larry as a Bison or as a member of the Thundering Herd, that's what a way to honor his memory. Two outstanding projects to contribute to, and I'm sure the family would appreciate folks reaching out. Again, like I said earlier, Larry wasn't anyone to pat himself on the back and talk about his own exploits. He kind of let those speak for himself. And again, what a great way to honor a person like that than to reach out and contribute to both of those organizations. And it had been a while since I had seen Larry in person. He worked for Champion Industries for quite some time, and I think as a salesman, and part of his route, at least at one time, was in this part of southeastern Ohio. He stopped in a long time back and talked to myself and visited with Ken French, who also graduated with us from Buffalo with myself, and Larry knew him. I think Larry's first midget league football coach was Ken's dad, as it turned out. And he stopped in one day to talk with us, and unfortunately that was the last time that I got to see him, and that was a few years back. But just a great guy, and I'm going to miss him. I just, like I said, I remember what a super gentle giant he was off the field, and what a bad son of a gun he was on it.
He was definitely a once-in-a-generation type player, so hopefully a lot of younger Herd fans will take you up on that offer and Google him, look him up on YouTube, watch him just decimate players right and left. And I wish we had that still to this day, because I remember that still. It was very vivid. You're right. It was one of the few stills of him just being that dominating force in that game, the Motor City Bowl, which was a big deal for a lot of fans. That was Marshall making it to a bowl game. Marshall hadn't done that. And the transition from 1AA to 1A was a big deal.
Absolutely. And I mean, as good as Larry was, and obviously we know he was very good, you got to remember there were guys on that team named Pennington and Moss, and Doug Chapman was a running back on that team, and it was a little easy for Larry to get lost in all that mix, and he was perfectly content with that. He just, a blue collar type guy that go out and do my job and make 10, 12, 14 tackles a game, which a lot of people, they need to really sit and think about that, because a 10 tackle a game or 10 tackles in a game is a really nice game. Larry did that like falling out of bed. And, I think you line up whatever Marshall coach you want to talk about, and they take a Larry McCloud in their lineup any day of the week.
Absolutely. Randy Payton's with us. Again, former sports editor of Wayne County News. He's now the sports information director for Rio Grande. Randy, I wish we could do this under happier circumstances, but it's always good to talk to you, and hopefully we'll have some happy memories of Larry today as we remember him and honor him. And I just want to stay positive, because he was such a positive person. So I think that's probably the best way to honor him, is to be positive.
He was, and he would probably be shaking his head if he had known that you're taking up this much time on your show to talk about him, because again, that's not the kind of guy that he was. But for folks that didn't get the opportunity to ever meet him or talk to him, a great guy, someone that the community will miss, and hopefully he'll live on in the memories of a great big bunch of people throughout the Tri-State.
Randy Payton, who also live on in the memories of a lot in the Tri-State. Good talking to you again. We don't get to see you enough down here, so hopefully we can get you back this way soon. But I appreciate you doing this today, talking about Larry.
Anytime, Paul. Good to talk to you.
That is Randy Payton. He's the sports information director at Rio Grande. Formerly, he was the sports editor of the Wayne County News. Wayne County News, fantastic newspaper for those of you that maybe don't remember it. It really served the community, and Randy was the epitome of local sports writer who served the readers. And he's got a great job now at Rio Grande. Quick timeout. We come back. We'll get some of your text in. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Now is the time to add on a new bathroom or remodel your old one with the latest up-to-date bathroom fixtures from Mutual Wholesalers, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Come in today to Mutual Wholesalers' beautiful showroom and see how your new bathroom will look. Check out Acre by Max. Have a new bathroom this year. Mutual Wholesalers, locally owned and operated, 710 5th Street, Huntington. Call 304-525-9118.
Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text? Online loan payments? Even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for being a part of today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line is wide open for you now. It is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. If you just joined us, we've been remembering Larry McCloud, one of the all-time greats at Marshall University. Randy Payton was with us to talk about his life. Randy, of course, covered a lot of local sports, and he was the sports editor of the Wayne County News, so he got to see Larry McCloud grow up and become the man and the football player that he was. And he was definitely there, front row seat to watch Larry, heck of a player, but also probably a better person than a football player. If that's hard to believe, it's true. He was that good of a football player, and he was even a better person. So earlier we told you that Marshall was going to take on Pitt in softball tomorrow at the Dot. Well, due to the weather forecasts, that game has been canceled. So Marshall versus Pitt tomorrow, that game has been canceled. The game against WVU on the baseball side still looks like it's a go. That is coming up tomorrow. Marshall taking on the Mountaineers. That'll be in Morgantown. Marshall looking to strike first in this baseball rivalry between the two. WVU's really good. They're 7-3 at home, 19-3 overall. The Herd on a 2-game losing streak, sitting at 12-12. Don't forget, if you missed anything today, you can always go back and listen. It's available on our podcast. It's the Drive Podcast Edition, and you can get that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or just wherever you get your podcasts. We make it available. It's free. All you have to do is hit the like, follow, subscribe button, whatever your service is, whatever you're using. We are there, and you can listen to the show. You can go back and listen to anything, anytime if you missed a previous episode, or if you just can't listen to the show live and you catch it from time to time, you want to catch it more, just go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, that follow button. It'll be delivered right to you on your schedule. So as we mentioned, the softball team tomorrow, that game has been canceled. Baseball in action tomorrow in Morgantown. And, of course, as we get through the week, we have got March Madness to start getting ramped up for again. I know my good friend and our news director, Bill Cornwell, extremely happy with his performance in March Madness. And, of course, his Kentucky Wildcats have survived to the Sweet 16. It's been a long time since the Wildcats have made it to the Sweet 16, so I know Billy is excited about that. We'll have all those games for you coming up this weekend right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We've got Pittsburgh Pirates baseball. We'll weave all of that in there as well. Can you believe we're almost a few days away from the official start for the majority of baseball teams? Baseball action coming back to the radio. We'll have the games right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So I'm looking forward to a start of that. And with that said, we're out of time. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate my guest today, Tyler Kennett, getting us caught up on Marshall Pro Day, and Randy Payton speaking to the life of Larry McCloud. Larry passing away yesterday. For more details on his services, you can visit Rieger Funeral Home's obituary page. It has all the details. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.